in the far corner of the galaxy, on a dying planet called Orvara. The air was thin, the sky was pale, and the land was dry like cracked stone. People lived in silence, hungry and afraid, hiding from the cold wind and the war that had taken everything. But deep inside the ruins of a broken city, a mother walked with heavy steps, holding something strange in her trembling hands. Her name was Selah, a member of the peaceful alien race called the Varelians. Her body was thin, her skin a soft silver blue, and her large black eyes showed only one thing: pain. She was weak, barely standing, but her arms held tightly to a glowing container. Inside it, beating slowly, was her own heart. Varelians had two hearts, one for the body, one for the soul. Selah had just sold the second one, the soul heart, which held her emotions, her memories, her love. She had removed it with her own hands. Not because she wanted to die, but because her daughters needed food. She had no money, no help, no friends. Only her love, and now, not even that, she entered the black market bazaar, a dark place full of shadows, machines, and cruel eyes. Traders laughed when they saw her, weak and bleeding, holding her own heart like a gift. "Look at the broken child," one of them said. Even though Selah was a mother to them, all Varelians were weak, soft, useless. But then the laughter stopped. From the crowd stepped a human man, tall, quiet eyes like iron. He wore a long coat and had no name tag. But people moved aside when he passed. He looked at Selah, not with disgust, not with pity, but something else, something quiet, something kind. He said nothing, just raised his hand and showed a black card. "Payment accepted," the machine said. He took the container with her heart and walked away, disappearing into the smoke. No one understood why a human would buy something so useless. The traders stared in silence. Selah fell to her knees, her vision fading. A nearby medic, half machine, ran to her and gave her a stabilizer shot. It would keep her alive, just barely. But without her soul heart, she would never be the same again. Her last thoughts before darkness came were of her two daughters, Lena and Sura. She hoped the payment was enough to feed them, at least for a little while, maybe a week, maybe less, but enough to buy time for them to live. Even if she couldn't, far away on a human ship orbiting the planet, the man placed the heart into a special chamber. He whispered to himself, "No mother should have to do this." The heart glowed softly, pulsing with weak light, but it was still alive. Still remembering, back in the city, Lena, the older daughter, waited near the cold walls of their home. She watched the door, hungry and scared, holding her little sister's hand. Sura was sick, coughing, too weak to move. They had not eaten in 2 days. Suddenly, a knock at the door. Lena opened it and found a silver box, warm to the touch. Inside, food, clean water, medicine, and a small note with no words. Just a symbol, a star with a single tear. She didn't know who sent it, or why, but she cried. Holding the food like treasure, she looked at the sky, wondering if their mother would return. She didn't know Selah was lying in a dark room, kept alive by machines, her chest empty, but her love still strong. Rumors began to spread across Orvara's black market underworld. The human took her heart. Some said, "He's with Earth's intelligence." Others whispered, "No," one voice said, "He's something worse. He's kind and in the shadows." Behind metal walls and silent machines, the human watched the heart. He saw how it pulsed when he said the daughters' names. He didn't understand it fully, but he knew one thing: this was no normal heart. This was something rare, something sacred. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to give it back. The sky over Orvara was darker than usual, filled with heavy clouds and ash from faraway fires. People walked with lowered heads, hiding from the wind and each other. But in a small home made of broken stone and metal, two young girls waited in silence. They were the daughters of Sayla, the alien mother, who sold her own heart. Lena, the elder daughter, was only 12. But her eyes were sharp and full of worry. Sura, the younger one, just 6, lay on a thin blanket. Coughing softly, she was sick, too weak to stand, her skin pale and cold. Lena sat beside her, holding her hand, whispering stories about the stars to keep her calm. They hadn't seen their mother in 3 days. The last time Sayla left, she had said, "Wait for me. I'll bring food," but she never came back. Lena was scared, but didn't show it. She had to be strong for Sura on the 4th day. As the sun disappeared behind black clouds, someone knocked on the door. Lena jumped, her heart racing. She opened it slowly, her hands shaking. No one was there, but on the ground, a silver box was waiting. She pulled it inside and opened the lid. Her eyes filled with tears. Inside was clean food, fresh water, and small medicine packs enough to last many days. No note, no voice. Only a strange mark printed on the side of the box. A silver star with a single tear. Lena didn't know who sent it. But she didn't care. She fed Sura first, giving her warm broth and half a fruit pill. Then she ate quietly, crying softly where her sister couldn't see. That night, Sura's coughing slowed. She even smiled for the first time in days. Whispering, "Mama will come back," Lena nodded. But her chest ached. Something felt wrong. Far above the planet, on a human ship, Elias stood alone in the lab, watching the heart of Sayla floating in the stasis chamber. He watched how it pulsed slowly, dimly, as if sleeping. He whispered, "They're alive, your daughters." The heart pulsed brighter for a moment. Another human, a young woman named Dr. Wren, stepped into the room. "You've gone too far, Elias," she said. "Buying an alien organ is illegal, even for you." Elias didn't answer. He kept staring at the heart. "It's more than an organ," he said. "It's love in its purest form." Back on Orvara, people whispered in markets and alleys. "They say a human bought her heart." One trader said, "Who does that? What kind of human gives something instead of taking?" No one had answers, but the story spread like fire. Sayla, still alive in a hidden medic shelter, lay on a cold bed, her body weak but her mind awake. She had no soul heart, but somehow she felt warmth in her chest. She didn't understand it. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lena's face and Sura's smile, and a shadow of someone else, a tall human with soft eyes. On the 5th night, Lena woke suddenly. She felt like someone was watching. She stepped outside, the wind cold against her skin. At the top of the hill near their home, she saw a shadow, tall and still. It didn't move, just stood there, like a guardian. She took a step forward, whispering, "Mama." The figure stepped back, then vanished behind the hill. She ran after it. But when she reached the top, the hill was empty. No footprints, no sound, just the wind in the shadows of the rocks. Elias watched from a distance, hidden in his camel cloak. He had come down from the ship just to see them with his own eyes. The daughters of the woman who gave her heart. They were safe, alive, and stronger than he expected. He whispered, "I'll protect them, even if she never knows." The next morning, another silver box appeared. This time, it had a note inside. Written in simple alien script, "Keep going, little stars," it said. Lena held the paper close to her chest and smiled. For the first time in days, she felt hope, but far away. In the darker corners of Orvara, greedy eyes were watching. Someone had seen the boxes, the food, the kindness, and they didn't like it. A voice in the shadows whispered, "If someone can give this much, they can be taken from." The daughters of Orvara were no longer invisible, and soon, danger would find them. In the cold silence of space, the human ship Solace 9 floated above Orvara like a silent watcher. Inside its medical chamber, lights glowed softly as machines beeped in slow rhythm. And in the center of the room, inside a clear glass pod, floated something impossible. It was Sayla's heart, not her body heart. But her soul heart, the organ Varelians used to feel emotions, memories, and love, normally, when removed. A soul heart would die in minutes, but this one still pulsed with soft light. It was still alive. Elias stood beside the pod, his hands behind his back. Watching the heart carefully, his face looked tired, but his eyes burned with focus. Every now and then, the heart pulsed stronger, as if responding to something unseen, and each time, Elias would whisper, "You still feel them, don't you?" Behind him, Dr. Wren typed notes on a glowing tablet. Frowning, "This should not be happening," she said. "There's no power source, no nervous system, and yet, it reacts. It's reacting to love," Elias said quietly. Wren rolled her eyes. "Love doesn't power tissue." "No," Elias replied. "But it powers purpose." The computer beeped again, showing a sudden spike in the heart's energy right at that moment, down on Orvara. Lena was hugging Sierra after reading the new note. A message that gave them hope, somehow, across the stars. The heart had felt it. Dr. Wren looked shocked. "What did you just do?" Elias smiled faintly. "I reminded it why it beats back on the planet." Sayla remained in a hidden clinic deep under the ruins. Machines kept her alive, but she was pale and weak. She often drifted into half-sleep, her mind full of strange images. She saw her daughters laughing, felt a warm wind, and sometimes she saw the heart glowing in darkness. The doctor in the shelter shook his head. She shouldn't be alive without the second heart, but she was, and not just alive. She was slowly healing in the marketplace. The whispers grew louder. "Did you hear?" One trader said, "Her heart is still beating. On a human ship. Impossible." Another replied, "That organ should have died. Then how is the girl still breathing?" People didn't know the truth. But rumors fed fear, and fear fed anger. One black market leader, a tall woman with robotic arms, named Morga, heard the story and narrowed her eyes. "If the human has something that powerful," she said, "we'll take it, back aboard Solace 9. Elias recorded a log for Earth's command. "This is Elias of the Orvara Watch," he said. "I've confirmed that the Varelian soul heart retains memory and reacts to emotional events." He paused, looking at the heart, "But I won't hand it over," he added. "Not to the labs, not to the generals, not to anyone." He sent the message, knowing it would make him a traitor. But he didn't care. He had seen too much. He had watched a mother give up her very essence, and he had seen her daughter survive because of it. To him, that meant more than any order. That night, the heart glowed brighter than ever. It floated in the pod like a small star, pulsing gently, calmly. Then something strange happened. A second heartbeat echoed inside the chamber, slow and steady, not from a machine, but from inside the heart itself. It was learning to beat on its own. Elias stared, stunned. Dr. Wren gasped. "That's not possible." The heart had adapted. It refused to die. Meanwhile, Lena had another dream. in it. She saw a tall man in a long coat standing beside a glass room. Inside was her mother's heart. Shining, the man turned and said, "She gave it to save you. But now it wants to return." Lena woke up crying. Not in fear, but in peace. She looked at Sura and whispered, "Mama's not gone. She's watching us, far away in the dark corners of Orvara." Morga's spies prepared to act. They tracked the signal of the delivery boxes, traced the tech, and followed the trail. They found footprints near the cliffs where Elias had stood. Now, they knew something others didn't. The human is not just delivering food, Morga said. He's guarding something, and we're going to take it back on the ship. Elias looked at the pod, then at a tiny tracking screen showing the location of the girls. He clenched his jaw. If anyone came for them, they wouldn't leave alive. He reached for his plasma rifle and whispered, "I've lost people before, not this time." The heart pulsed again. As if agreeing, the stars above Orvara looked peaceful. But something dangerous was coming. Far below, in the silence of night, two girls slept in their small stone shelter. Lena held Sura close, their breathing soft and steady. They didn't know that eyes were watching them from the dark. A group of shadowy figures stood hidden in the rocks near their home. They wore ragged armor and broken helmets, leftovers from old wars. Their leader, a cold-eyed woman with metal arms named Morga, whispered, "That's them, the daughters of the one who sold her soul." Morga had followed the trail of food deliveries, traced the power signatures, and she had discovered something strange. A human Elias was protecting them. Why? What was so special about these girls? She didn't care about kindness. She cared about value. And if that alien heart was still alive, maybe the girls were worth something too. Just before dawn, the door to the shelter cracked open. Lena stepped outside to get fresh air. Her feet cold on the stone. She stretched, yawned, then froze. A sound a click behind her before she could turn. A strong hand covered her mouth. She struggled, kicked. But a needle pricked her neck, and everything went dark. Inside, Sura woke up to noise. She sat up slowly, then screamed as metal arms reached in and grabbed her. She fought, but she was too small, too weak. She cried out, "Lena, Mama." But there was no answer. The kidnappers moved fast, silent like shadows, by the time the sun rose. The house was empty. Only a torn blanket and the silver symbol on the old food box remained. Far above, in his ship, Elias woke with a start. The heart in the pod was pulsing wildly, alarms flashing red. It was reacting to something terrible. He checked his tracker, eyes wide, the signals broken. He muttered, "Someone took them." Dr. Wren entered the room. Seeing the flashing lights, "What happened?" she asked. "They're gone," Elias said, grabbing his gear, "and someone is going to pay within minutes." He suited up, strapping weapons to his back. His face was calm, but his hands were tight fists. He opened a secret panel and pulled out an old Earth combat badge. He hadn't worn it in years. "I thought you left the field," Wren said softly. "I did," Elias replied, "until a mother gave me her heart." He launched a scout drone to scan the planet. It picked up faint energy trails someone had used cloaked transports in the night. And they were headed to the Dust Zone, a lawless wasteland full of ruins and thieves. Elias landed quietly near the zone, his boots sinking into the dry red dust. He moved like a ghost, his eyes scanning every corner. He didn't just want to rescue the girls, he wanted to destroy whoever dared take them. Deep inside a broken bunker, Lena woke up in a dark cell. Her head hurt, and her arms were tied behind her. Sura lay beside her, still unconscious. A rough voice spoke through the bars. "You're lucky your mama's heart is still famous," the voice said. "Now people want you to." Lena sat up. Fire in her eyes. "You won't win," she said. "Someone is coming," the voice laughed. "Oh, the human? We know about him. Let's see what he does when we take everything." But what they didn't know was that Elias was already inside, moving through shadows, taking down guards one by one. He was no longer the quiet man from the market, he was a storm. He reached the cell door silently, his plasma blade glowing blue. Lena's eyes widened. "You came? I promised your mother," he said. Slicing through the lock, he lifted Sura into his arms, covering them both with a cloaking shield. "Hold on," he whispered. Then all alarms went off. Morga had found him. She blocked the exit, her metal arms glowing red. "You don't scare me," she said. Elias stepped forward. "You should be scared." They fought in a shower of sparks and dust. Metal against human strength. Elias was wounded, but he didn't stop. Not until Morga fell, her weapon broken, her eyes wide with shock. "You fought for them?" She gasped. "No," Elias said, walking past her. "I fought for her." He returned to the ship with the girls. Placing Sura in a warm med bed, Lena held his hand and whispered, "Thank you." Elias looked at the heart in the pot, was glowing brighter than ever. In the shelter below, Sala's eyes opened slowly. For the first time in days, she took a deep breath. And somewhere inside her empty chest, she felt warmth. The heart she gave away was calling her home. The fires of battle still burned in Elias's mind. Even after returning to the ship with Lena and Sura, his heart wouldn't rest. The fight was over. But the war was just beginning. He stood by the medical pod where Sura lay asleep, a soft light washing over her weak body. Lena sat nearby, her eyes wide open, staring at the stars outside the window. They had escaped the kidnappers, but the fear had left deep scars. Elias reached out and touched the glass container where Sayla's soul heart still floated. It pulsed warmly, brighter than ever before. "Your daughters are safe," he whispered. "But now they know what the world is really like." Dr. Wren entered quietly, her voice calm, but her face tense. "Command just sent a message," she said. "They know what you did." Elias didn't look away from the heart. "Good," he said. "Let them come, on Orvara." News of the attack spread fast. People in the underground market spoke in whispers. "The human burned down the dust zone," one said. "He took out Morga's gang like it was nothing," said another. "He's not a man, he's a storm," Sayla, still in the hidden shelter, opened her eyes fully for the first time. She sat up slowly, her body weak, her breath shaking. But something inside her had changed. She felt light, like a song had returned to her bones. The healer in the shelter stared at her in shock. "You should not be able to move," he said. "Your body heart is failing. And your soul heart is gone." Sayla looked at him and smiled faintly. "My heart isn't gone," she said. "It's just far away, back on Solace 9. Lena sat beside Elias, asking the question that had been in her mind since the rescue. "Why did you save us?" Elias looked at her, his voice soft. "Because no one saved my sister when I was young." He paused, then added, "Your mother did something no human mother ever had to do. She gave her heart, and that matters." Just then, the ship's alert system rang out. A human patrol vessel was approaching fast, weapons armed. A voice came over the comms. "Cold and official, this is Earth Command, Captain Elias. You are ordered to surrender the alien bioorgan for immediate study." Lena held her breath. Sura stirred in her bed. Sensing the danger, Elias stood up, his face hard as steel. He tapped the glass container gently. Then looked at Dr. Wren. "Seal the ship," he said. "They're not taking it," Wren hesitated. "They'll fire on us." "Let them," Elias replied. "They'll learn what fire really looks like within minutes." Solace 9 was flying low over Orvara's surface. Elias wasn't running. He was going back to Selah, using the medlink. He sent a coded signal to the shelter. When Selah received it, her eyes filled with tears. She stood, shaking, barely strong enough to walk. But her heart, her real heart, was calling her home. Elias landed near the ruins with the girls and the heart pod. People gathered silently, watching from behind walls and broken machines. No one spoke as Selah stepped forward from the shelter. She looked thinner, older, but her eyes were bright with something no one expected: hope. When she saw her daughters, she fell to her knees, arms wide open. Lena and Sura ran to her, hugging her tightly. They didn't speak, they just held on. Even Elias looked away, letting them have the moment. Then Selah stood, eyes on the glowing pod. "You kept it alive?" she whispered. Elias nodded. "I didn't know why at first," he said, "but now I do." She placed her hand on the glass, and the heart pulsed in rhythm with her breath. It wanted to return, but Selah shook her head, stepping back. "It's not mine anymore," she said softly. "It changed. Because of you." Elias didn't understand. Selah smiled gently. "You carried my soul when I couldn't," she said. "Now you're part of it." Suddenly, the sky roared. The Earth command vessel had found them, its shadows stretching across the ruins. Soldiers dropped from the air in black suits, weapons ready. A voice shouted, "Hand over the alien subject and the bioorgan." Selah stood tall. Her daughters behind her. Elias stepped forward, gun in hand, but his voice calm. "This heart is not a weapon," he said. "It's a promise, and I'll protect it with my life." The soldiers raised their rifles. But something unexpected happened from every corner of the ruins. Locals stepped forward, alien mothers, fathers, old warriors, even children. All of them stood between Elias and the soldiers. The Earth captain hesitated. "Stand down," Elias said. "This isn't your fight anymore." And for the first time, the human soldiers didn't move. They just watched, unsure, as Elias held the glowing heart high, not as a trophy, but as a truth. Human fire had saved alien blood. And in that moment, both became something greater. Asterisk, the world had changed, and it started with a single heartbeat. After Elias stood before Earth Command, refusing to hand over Selah's heart, something inside the people of Orvara shifted. They had seen too much silence, too much fear, too much hunger now. They saw something new, hope. News of the standoff spread quickly, not just across Orvara, but to nearby systems. Someone recorded the moment when Elias stood with Selah and her daughters, surrounded by alien civilians protecting a soul heart. The video reached Earth-Mars, and even the outer colonies. Millions watched it, and many cried, back on Orvara. Elias worked day and night with Selah's help. They turned the shelter into a center for healing and food. The Virillians, once ignored and abandoned, came forward to volunteer. Mothers brought their children. Fathers brought tools. Even old war veterans joined. They called it the Heart-Giver Haven. Lena and Sura helped too. They became symbols of survival, hope, and love. People started calling them the Daughters of Light, and in every corner of Orvara, people whispered stories of the woman who sold her heart and the human who brought it back. Selah never took the heart back into her body. Instead, she asked Elias to place it inside a protected orb. It stayed in the center of the haven, glowing softly. Anyone who entered the room said they could feel warmth, as if someone was holding their hand. Dr. Wren continued her research, but something in her changed too. She no longer studied the heart as a sample. Now, she treated it with respect, almost like a living being, she once said. This heart teaches more than science, it teaches soul, but peace never comes without enemies. High above, Earth's command was divided. Some wanted Elias arrested for disobedience. Others feared public outrage if they touched the man who had become a hero. One general said, "We cannot afford to fight him." Another replied, "Then we watch and wait." But Elias was not waiting. He and Selah began building something bigger, a union between species. They invited humans, Varelians, and other alien races to talk, to share, to learn. The first gathering was small, but by the third week, it filled the ruined marketplace. Speakers stood where black market deals once happened. Now they shared stories, songs, and dreams. Laughter returned to Orvara. Children ran through the streets without fear. Old walls were painted with color, with symbols of stars, hearts, and unity. Selah stood at the center, wearing robes of blue and gold. Not as a leader chosen by politics, but as a mother chosen by truth. Elias stood beside her, quiet, steady. Still armed, still ready, but smiling now. Lena gave a speech one morning. Her voice shaky but clear. "My mother gave everything, and this man gave it back." She said, "We are different, but we can care the same." Her words were recorded and played across human stations. She was just a child, but her words struck deeper than any weapon. But not everyone was happy in dark places of the galaxy. Power-hungry traitors and old enemies whispered, "This alliance is dangerous. If aliens and humans unite like this, we lose control." One shadowy figure sent a message across deep space. "Activate the sleeper cell," he said. "Let's remind them what fear feels like." Back on Orvara, a strange drone flew low one night. It scanned the haven, paused near the heart orb, then vanished into the sky. Elias found traces of it and knew what it meant. "Trouble is coming," he told Selah. She nodded, calm. "Then we rise higher." That same night, Elias sat beside the heart orb. Staring into its light, he whispered, "You changed me." He remembered the man he used to be, silent, cold, following orders. Now he was something else. He was someone who believed. The next morning, the Haven flag was raised, a symbol of a star inside a heart. And it was not just flown on Orvara. Ships from nearby moons, even from old Earth rebel colonies, sent messages of support. The Heartgiver's story had become more than a tale. It had become a movement. Even Earth Command had to step back. Unsure of what to do, they couldn't silence love. They couldn't shoot hope, and they couldn't kill what refused to die. As the sun rose over the rebuilt walls of the Haven, Selah stood with Elias. Watching their daughters play in the light, she said softly, "You once said I carried love. You were wrong. You carried it farther than I ever could." The sun rose slowly over Orvara, golden light falling across the rebuilt walls of the Heartgiver Haven. People moved with calm purpose, planting food, teaching children, and building shelters from broken metal and stone. What was once a dying world had become a place of hope. But far above, in the black sky, trouble was coming. A fleet of ships moved toward the planet Earth Command's final decision. They had waited, watched, and now they acted, inside the lead ship. General Tyros stood with arms crossed. "This ends today," he said. "We take the heart. We take control." On the surface, Elias stood on the rooftop of the main hall, eyes scanning the sky. His long coat fluttered in the wind. Rifle on his back, beside him, Sayla stood in silence, her face calm. She had known this day would come. But she wasn't afraid. The heart orb sat between them. Glowing brighter than ever, it had become more than just a memory of sacrifice. It was a living symbol of change. It pulsed with a rhythm that matched the heartbeat of the haven itself. Sura and Lena watched from below, surrounded by friends and defenders from across the stars. Varelians, humans, even other alien species who had joined the cause. They were not an army, but they were ready to stand. Dr. Wren rushed into the room with data pads in her hand. "The fleet is armed," she said, "but there's more. They've sent a command signal to shut down our communications." Elias smiled faintly. "Then we'll speak without words." He walked to the heart orb and placed his hand on it. A quiet pulse echoed outward. Reaching every corner of the haven, people paused, turned toward the tower, and waited. Sayla stepped forward, lifting her voice across the intercom. "We are not at war," she said. "We are not here to fight. We are here to be heard." The heart orb responded, its glow expanding into the sky. Sending a signal through the atmosphere, it carried no weapons, no threats. Just one message: we are still alive, and we choose peace. High above, on the Earth ship, the crew hesitated. Their screens blinked with the heart's signal. And across the galaxy, stations began to pick it up. Millions of people saw the broadcast, a simple light, a pulse, and a message, and they chose to listen. But General Tyros did not prepare to fire. He ordered, "Target the haven." Back on the surface, alarms screamed. Missiles were coming. Fast and silent, Lena grabbed Sura's hand. Pulling her toward cover, Sayla looked to Elias, and he nodded once. He ran to the control center, fingers flying across the system. There was only one option left. "Activate the beacon," he said. Wren gasped. "That will burn the ship out. There's no turning back." "I know," Elias said. "But she gave everything once. Now it's my turn." The beacon lit up, powered by the energy stored in the heart orb. A massive wave of light burst into the sky. Striking the missiles mid-air, they exploded before hitting the ground, fire blooming like flowers in the sky. The people below cheered, but Elias didn't stop. The beacon was overheating. He stayed in the chamber, hands locked on the controls. Outside, Sayla watched in silence. Then, without a word, she walked toward the building. She found Elias near collapse, sweat on his forehead, sparks flying. She placed her hand on his and whispered, "It's time to return the heart." The orb opened slowly, light filling the room. And Sayla did what she had once feared. She took her heart back, not as a sacrifice, but as a choice. As it rejoined her body, her strength returned like a river breaking a dam. She stood tall, her skin glowing with new energy. She reached out and touched Elias's chest. "You carried it this far," she said. "Now let me carry you." A final surge of power flowed through the beacon. It sent one last message to Earth. Not a threat, not even a speech, just a heartbeat. And across Earth's command stations, screens flickered, soldiers lowered their weapons, and people began to understand. The fleet pulled back. General Tyros, alone and angry, could only watch as peace won the day. He knew it was over. Days later, Elias sat in the Haven garden. Watching Sura chase butterflies, Lena sat beside him, drawing a new symbol in the dirt: a star, a heart, and a flame. Sayla walked toward him, her step strong, her eyes full of light. "You still think humans are broken?" she asked. Elias smiled. "No," he said. "I think we're learning." She sat beside him. "The heart is not just mine anymore," she said. "It belongs to all of us now, And as the sun set behind the hills of Orvara, the stars above began to blink awake, not as cold watchers, but as promises of peace, of unity, of hearts returned.